Hello Enchanted Ones, and welcome back. Today I will be showing you how to make 3 extra enchanted witchy DIYs created from mundane things I had lying around my home and all inspired by my favourite place, the Enchanted Woods. And better yet, they all look like they are from a lost fairy tale. So sit back, relax, and keep on watching. Hello Enchanted Ones, and welcome to this witchy DIY video. Recently I have been organising my home and organising my crafts, and I have found that I've got so many things that I can make over, so many things I can do, but I never do them. So I figured what we could do today is use the things that I've found, give them a makeover, an extra enchanted makeover with my new inspiration from the woods. Now, every single year around January and February time, I'm just completely and utterly enchanted by the woods. And you might think, well, there's not really a lot going on at this time. And you're right, there isn't. We don't really get a lot of snow here. It doesn't really get white. I really hope it does snow, because that will be a really fun video. Because we don't have a lot of snow, we can see the forest floor and we can see what lies beneath. And it is that inspires me to my very core. I think it's because I'm a winter baby and I'm just inspired by what's around me this time of year and what makes me drive. So I went to my most favourite place in the woods the other day, and I brought you along with me to gain some inspiration for my new witchy enchanted DIYs. Recently, I have been drawn towards the south of the forest in the Healing Trail, as the sun is mesmerising on these winter days. It never rises above tree height, so is continuously producing the most beautiful rays through the trees, and the most magical moments present themselves before my very eyes. The whole environment here is picturesque and never ceases to amaze me. But contrary to looking at the whole picture, if you look closely, you will find the most utterly enchanting moments here on the forest floor. So today, my walk had a purpose to find all these little moments of magic, and there were so many. Whether it be the roots tangling their way around the trees, the ivy growing up, or the moss covering everything within its path. The undeniable factor is, this place is full of life, even in the winter, and it is this very reason why I named it the Healing Trail, because on a sunny day here you can get lost and completely captivated by its beauty, and it will well and truly send you into a lost, enchanted world. Whilst I was here, I found a few pieces of nature that were intriguing, and I thought it would be fun to see if I could craft with these also. So I journeyed home with the inspiration exploding within. So I hope you enjoyed my little walk. I honestly cannot get enough of moss, of roots, and just of the forest floor and the sun at this time of year. They're all just so inspiring, and they basically just lead us to life, to fun, and to just amazing moments that we can treasure forever. So it comes around to the DIYs that I'm going to do today, and I'm going to be doing 3 different ones, some from items that I have found in the woods and some from items that I just have lying around my home. I have so many things that I've said I'm going to make over, but I never actually get round to doing it. So I've got like a huge box of items, and this year I hope to be doing more in this series to just make them over and just make them super extra enchanted. So the first item that I'm going to be doing is just this plain box. I must have got a gift in this at some point, and I just kept it because it's just a sweet little box and I'm not going to get rid of it. Everyone needs a box that they put like sacred special things into, but I want to make it over in the most enchanting way. So I'm going to be conjuring up a plan to see what we can do with this. For my plan, I first drew around all the sides of the box, making a simple template of the box to draw the design onto. I wanted it to look covered in roots, like it had been entangled within a tree for centuries, and I thought about the roots I saw in the woods, and I realised there are no rules at all when drawing them. They tangle in every direction, and the quirkier, the better. I also wanted gems to be placed within the roots. This was inspired by a folktale I once read named Tree Folk, where buried under every tree were gems. The gems would be accessible to collect, but only if one dared to enter. For the gems, I used my favourite crystal of all, amethyst. To build up the shape of the roots, I used clay, rolling long pieces out, and before I put it onto the box, I made sure they fit the shape, intertwining them on here first, and then once I was happy, placing them on the box, making sure to use lots of glue underneath and on top to help it stick. I did this section by section to make sure the clay didn't dry out, first moulding it onto the design and then transferring it. And it was so much fun creating the bewildered, entangled roots. I made sure to cut the bottom of the clay to stop any interfering with the overlap of boxes, and then once complete, using a clay tool, I moulded the clay around the crystals and gave the roots texture. This took me about half an hour to do, so not too long, and I was so happy with how it turned out and how my plan helped me to mould the shapes I wanted. It helped so much with the sizing of the different sections. I waited until the evening for this to dry and then started painting, and I chose my Enchanted colour palette to help me. I first mixed my favourite earthy brown colour using a darker brown and orange, and then painted the whole box this colour to start with, getting in all the nooks and making sure all the clay was covered. I I then gave it age and depth by adding just a plain brown colour on its own around the edges and the roots. To give it that fresh forest feeling, I had to add some green for moss, so I dabbed this here and there to look perfectly imperfect. Because we were going for an enchanted forest look, I didn't want the roots to stay brown. They needed to be brought to life with a touch of gold to make them pop. And now the outside was complete, I wanted to add a final touch. So for this I used green felt. I traced around the plan I had made of the box to create the shape. And then using strong glue, I firmly compacted this inside the box. And I believe this is the most enchanted box I've ever made. And my first enchanted item was complete. So I was looking around my home for other materials I could work with, and I came across this huge box, and it is full of fabric. It's full of felt that I've used in previous videos to make things, but I have so many little scraps, I have so many bits left over that I don't know what I'm going to use for. So I've come up with another item now to create a bag. I want to create just a super special enchanted bag that I can use to put special things in, and I want it to be the pinnacle of enchantment. I envisioned the bag to not only be practical, but magical, and I wanted it to slot onto my belt, so I needn't worry about carrying it within the woods, as it will always be attached to me. So, if it were always attached to me, I wanted to make it very special indeed. I first drew a small circle out on a piece of felt. This would become the bottom of my bag. And then, using a rectangular object to help me, I made the sides of the bag, making sure that the length of the fabric would be enough to go around the circle I had cut out. Using strong fabric glue, I then stuck the rectangular piece of felt together widthways to make the bag pouch shape. And then, to make the bottom of the bag sturdier, I doubled the circular piece of felt with a piece of foam and glued these together. I then placed this inside the tube and left a few centimetres to spare, as next I went around the whole circle and glued the overhung fabric to the base to create that wonderful pouch shape. To hide the unwanted overhang, I then covered this with another piece of felt of the same circular size as before. Using scissors, I then made an even number of holes around the top of the bag, making sure they were evenly spaced. This will be so the bag is able to tie up and all bunch together. I laid out my best ribbons to see what was the most enchanting, and I just love the contrast of this brown and golden ribbon to the green felt. And then I threaded it in and out of the holes to make it a beautiful bunched up shape and tied it together. I also burnt the edges of the ribbon to stop it from fraying. The last thing it needed was a handle, so I cut up and rolled up a piece of felt that would be big enough to thread through my largest belt.
and I glued but also stitched this onto my bag. And honestly, the skeleton of this bag was a breeze to make. But I didn't just want to make a plain bag. It had to be embroidered with all of my favourite things. And of course, what are my favourite things? Leaves. So using another piece of felt, I drew shapes of ivy and my favourite leaf of all, the oak leaf. This particular oak leaf is very special to me as I caught it last year when I had doubts of who I was. And catching it was a moment of pure disbelief, but also true belief of who I was, and it holds such a special place within me now. I knew embroidering them would take a little while, so I set up a cozy spot and watched my favourite film that I mentioned not long ago, Enchanted. I embroidered each leaf using a blanket stitch, and I love the outlining effect it gives, and the pop of gold makes this bag look extra magical and one of a kind.
I just find pieces of us scattered across the forest floor.
Once complete, I glued the leaves on using fabric glue, but then I went back and stitched them on just to make sure they wouldn't fall off, and my enchanted bag was complete. Now there was only one enchanted item left to make, and for this I let my imagination run wild.
The final item I want to craft today is from something I found within the woods the other day. I found these two sticks. They may just look like sticks to you, but when you join them together, they create a sacred looking eye, and it's almost like an eye to the forest. And I thought maybe I can create a picture inside this. What I do have, which I haven't used ever, is a big sheet of canvas. So I thought I could cut a little slice of that and create a beautiful picture on it. And I know exactly what I'm going to draw. Like I said, I am captivated by the moss at the moment. And when you look in certain places off the beaten track in the woods, it literally looks like a moss wonderland. It's just grown on everything. It is covered so much, and it looks like it's a secret world hidden under the moss. And what do I imagine? I imagine a green enchanted lady living in the moss. So I would love to recreate what my vision is of her, to make a special eye into the enchanted woods.
To make the canvas for the painting, I first laid out a piece of thick cardboard where I found the shape I was working with. After marking it out, I cut it to shape. Then placed on top a small piece of the canvas, turned it over and glued it tightly with strong glue to the back. I then turned it back over, and it was time for my imagination to take over. A long time ago, there was a wood, but it was no ordinary wood. Everything within it possessed its own magical essence, and this made it an enchanted wood. Remarkable things occurred within the enchanted wood. Roots would turn to gold, sunbeams would be full of fairies, and the whole wood seemed like it communicated through its underground network of roots. It was a beautiful crisp winter's day, and the sun's rays were passing through the trees within the healing trail of the wood. In the summer, the trail wouldn't get much sun due to the canopy of leaves that lied overhead, so the floor absorbed all the sun it needed during these quick-lived winter days. And this forest floor wasn't just absorbing the sun, it was absorbing its magical essence. There were many entangled roots upon the floor here, intertwining together in huge clumps, and a carpet of moss, lumpy and bumpy from where it had grown over fallen branches and tree stumps, like a whole village lived beneath. But the more the sun shone upon the forest floor, the more the roots and the moss started growing in the most unusual way. And it seemed like they were growing into the shape of a human. As the roots formed the shape of a body, a blanket of moss soared over it until the roots were barely visible. And soon what was left was a beautiful silhouette of a sleeping mossy goddess. Within minutes, the stomach of the goddess slowly started moving up and down, and she opened her eyes, and she was named Alwyn, goddess of green. And through the eye I went, to step into the tale to learn more about her. Alwyn awakes when the sun is shining out the trees, and her job is to spread the light and life of the forest. But to do this, she needed some supplies, and the woods were there to help her with what she needed. A small enchanted pouch appeared before her eyes. With this pouch, she collected and gathered her findings. Then she saw an ancient box, entangled in the golden roots. There, within the box, was something so magical. It was the heart of the magic within the woods, and the heart of the life that lived inside her, a moss agate crystal. The box was all she needed for her supplies, so she gave the crystal back to the woods to say thank you for the life it had given her, and a reminder that even during the winter, the roots will keep us grounded, the moss will keep us breathing, and the sun, although short-lived, will keep the magic alive. Thank you for watching, Enchanted Ones, and please let me know what was your favourite below. All my love, Alwyn.